People have gotten married to his music, had babies by his music.
He makes playing an instrument really cool.
I've been listening to him since I was a baby.
At the same time, he is also one of the most hated people in jazz.
What the hell's not to like?
He is one of the most beloved and loathed musicians of the past 3 decades. Kenny G holds the Guinness World Record for best-selling jazz artist. There are a lot of people who don't think his music is real jazz.
It's debatable, right? Well, a new HBO documentary, Listening to Kenny G, explores this debate. And we are joined now by the director of that documentary, Penny Lane. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
We appreciate you joining us. So did you work with Kenny G putting this documentary together?
Oh yeah, he gave us like amazing access. He was totally generous with his time. He never tried to control the process. It was really a dream come true working with him.
He was actually on our program earlier this month, and he said that he was one of our mystery guests. He said that he had no editing control over this movie. So how do you convince a guy, hey, I'm going to do this movie about you, but you don't have any control in it. Can I do it?
I don't know why he said yes, but he did. He said yes pretty much right away, and I'm very grateful to him for doing so. Like I said, it was really a dream come true. I didn't know if I would be able to get him to participate in the film, but I think he's just a smart businessman and understood that any attention is good attention, even if some of it's negative. And also, I think he liked me and trusted me, and that made a difference to him.
So give us some examples. I know you don't want to give everything away, but maybe 1 or 2 interesting facts that you learned about him in putting this documentary together.
Well, the main thing is I understood that he was very successful and famous, of course. I came of age in the 90s, and you could not escape his music, even if you tried at that point in history. But I didn't really understand how unique he is in the history of music. I mean, for an instrumental artist to be this successful and this famous on a global level never happened before and may never happen again. So that was one of the biggest things.
So as a filmmaker now, did you have, when you were younger, just posters of Kenny G on your wall and you're like, this is my dream project? What made you decide that this was a project you wanted to tackle?
No, I had posters of Kurt Cobain on my wall.
Totally different, yeah.
So, I mean, but that's really where it came from. I always had been aware of his music, of course. Literally, it was the air that I breathed growing up. It was on the Weather Channel, it was in the mall,
Yes.
It was on hold music, you know. But I never really liked it. But what I really saw was that it made so many of my friends angry. Like, not just like, oh, I don't like that, but like, the fury of it, which I always found kind of amusing. And when I saw Kenny kind of having kind of a resurgence in the last few moments, you know, he was on this Kanye record, which was really huge. And I thought, well, there's something about that story that I think would be really interesting, exploring that conflict. So the fact that I don't have like a strong, you know, I don't have a dog in the race here. Like I don't care that much. I think it's kind of an interesting phenomenon to explore from the outside.
Kenny G seems just like the nicest guy, right? I mean, when you listen to him talk, and he just seems like just a really amazing guy. Does he have any kind of dark side or demons that he's fighting?
It's so funny you asked that question, because there's a moment in the interview that I didn't use that I really tried to use, where I said, I kind of got frustrated, like, come on, Kenny, like, isn't there anything that makes you mad or whatever? I said, don't you have any demons? And he kind of paused and he said, what's a demon? And I think that pretty much tells you what you need to know.
So really, there was nothing, no struggle that he opens up about, or any tough point in his life?
No, and I'm sure there are some, but it's just not what defines him. I mean, most of the artists that I know are quite neurotic and defined in a sense by our demons. And to the extent that Kenny has demons, which he says he doesn't even know what they are, they're not what defines him. I mean, what you see is what you get with him. He really is just this happy-go-lucky. He's very proud of himself. He's satisfied with his work. He's satisfied with what he's accomplished, and he's really happy. He's happy all the time.
So when you talk to the jazz critics in the film, or even some of your friends that you said would just hear his music and cringe with it, why? Did they say why?
Yes. Well, for people who love jazz, I think they are frustrated by his existence in the world, and in some cases, rightfully so, because from their point of view, what he does isn't really jazz, but the fact that it's called jazz has maybe muddied the waters or confused people about what real jazz is. And also, he's so financially successful as a jazz musician. And as you probably know, most jazz musicians are, struggling artists trying to make a living and finding it quite difficult. It's not the most commercial art form. So I think there's some resentment there as well. And then there's the sort of music aspect of it. Like, is it good music, or is it too simple, or is it too saccharine, or is it too sentimental or something? And I think that somebody going over the top with what they think of as kind of schmaltz just offends them aesthetically in many ways.
It's hard to argue with success when you've sold that many albums. It's like, you know what,
Quite
people
popular.
like my music. So, well, this really sounds interesting. Penny, we check out the information here. It's on your screen there. Listening to Kenny G is available on HBO Max here. There's the website there. Penny, really appreciate you joining us this morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Penny.
Thank you.